Hey, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Unicorns and Lasers. My name is Josh.
And I'm Lai.
And we are having plenty of awkward silences as part of our second episode. But the topic of this episode today is going to be about some of the most highly recommended, highly sought after, highly enjoyed movies that we've watched prior to starting this podcast. So we haven't got any order to this. We've just decided to start jabbering away, and I'm sure that the banter should be rewarding at the very least for both myself and Lai. I appreciate that it may be a bit discomforting for the rest of you, but I assure you that we will have a great time.
Yep, and if you don't like it, stop. It's all about us.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm only in it for me, buddy.
That's it. But earlier,
I'm here for my pleasure. My pleasure alone.
Earlier we were talking about some of the movies that we've really enjoyed and we wanted to talk about as well. We even talked a little bit about television series, so I think it'll be really good. Lai, maybe you want to give people a rundown on some of the things that you've been watching, maybe over the last 12 months or whatnot, that you feel just are worthy of mentioning.
Okay, I would have to say, first off, probably one of the best series, I think dramatically and writing-wise, Westworld. Oh, man. Westworld.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's also phenomenal, beautifully acted, written stuff right there. I mean, there's so many different questions about, what is the difference between being alive and artificial intelligence? Is there a distinction between artificial intelligence and consciousness? And so many of those things are like, I was kind of thinking. So you know how, for example, when you're in a video game, because the thing is that when I play video games, and there are certain video games where you have NPCs, and I don't like telling people I don't need to kill, right? But then again, you get people who flipping get off like just running over random NPCs because they're just NPCs,
Yep.
but what if those NPCs had like feelings and so all these kind of questions kind of popped up, and so I was thinking, definitely Westworld. Westworld was flipping phenomenal. Absolutely loved it.
I would just jumping in there as well. So if we take them one by one, I would have to say as well that one of the most underrated episodes or series that I've really enjoyed lately is Vikings, and I
never watched it. I need to watch it. I think
I'm telling you, hey, you got to get on board. The Viking boat is sailing away, and you're gonna want to see.
Long boat.
Yeah, it's a very long boat, very long. It's look, we're late in to I think what is the fourth season, but what started off as being based off historical accounts and records in terms of the Viking, I guess, campaigns to Britannia. I think it makes for a very captivating story when you learn more about the characters. You understand the interpretation of both the mythology and the history and the culture, but no, that's always been a very very entertaining one for me, I think, as well, because you've been able to look into the interpretation of the minds behind some of the these campaigns and these battles, and also just I guess enjoying a different viewpoint on things. I think what's really good about this is that the female character is so very differently portrayed compared to other television shows, and so they're really given, because they are warrior maidens, they are given the reverence or respect that you would expect, and that you would like to see, I guess, in other mediums, other channels, other cultures that you just don't see. But that, in addition to, I guess, there's a combination of things. It's the action, it's the I guess strong, like medium to soft ties to historical references. It is the cinematography of or just the quality of how they're shooting the content,
Yeah.
and then definitely any of the scripting. My measure of any good film or any good television series is always that by the end of an episode or the end of a season, I'm thinking, you know what, I could be a Viking. I could
I could go out raping and pillaging. I could do that.
I could burn the village. You don't need a. So yeah, that's why I hold in so high regard other television series like Suits and Sons of Anarchy as violent and as probably not PG rated as Sons of Anarchy are. But I always use that as a measure. If I get to the end of a season or an episode and I think, you know what, if I lived a different life, I think I could, jump on a bike.
That would have been me.
Have a tattoo. I could just have a little tattoo. I'll be fine. So yeah, that's one that I'd say is a little bit underrated. It's unknown. So Vikings is one I'm putting out there.
Okay. I definitely need to. There's a certain lot of stuff I need to catch up on, obviously. But Westworld, man. And I think bringing it back to that, I think that's always the mark of a great show or great stories is that when there are things that if there's some kind of concept or idea that kind of resonates with you, or at least you can kind of connect with it on some, on some level or whatnot. But I have to say, man, like, honestly, Logan. Oh man, Logan, the last installment of Wolverine, that blew my mind. I was like, man, that's just so beautifully done.
Sing it from
so
the
many kills.
Sing it.
Like, I think it was a logical conclusion of a lifelong history of violence, And I think after the world going the way that it often does, sometimes, just kind of seeing somebody who's pretty much at the end of his tether and trying to refine his purpose, even if it was like in those final moments of that movie where he finally realizes what it was all for. It's beautifully heartbreaking, man. Heartbreakingly beautiful.
Yeah. I think it did a lot of justice to the fans. You know what I'm curious to think of though is like even so there was a lot of talk about this being an R-rated movie, right? And that you need to do that to deliver justice. I'm curious to know how poorly the reception would have been had the movie been PG or whatnot. Like you would have exactly the same scenes, you wouldn't have cussing, you wouldn't have as much gore. But I'd be curious to know what that is because I really feel that not only did the R18 rating allow you to explore certain scenes you couldn't or have different dialogue, but I truly feel like the plot itself was head and shoulders above anything else that we've seen across any of the X-Men franchise movies.
No, definitely. I think a big part of that, and the thing is, just because it's R18 doesn't mean it's automatically going to be a hit.
Thank you.
What it is that I think R18 allowed them to present the tale or the story or the narrative in its proper context. Because the thing is, growing up reading Wolverine, this is not he's not a cuddly character. All the movies have more or less tried to push him to be that kind of character. He's very much a conflicted hero. He's done some horrible things. And so I think what I love about R18 is that it allows stories to be told in the appropriate context, because this is a dude with knives for hands. He is literally built, designed for murder. That's basically it. That's what he's built to design for murder,
Yeah.
And this isn't a person that's going to be saying, "Oh, darn it, gosh darn it."
Yeah.
If you've ever seen somebody get stabbed or shot or crushed, it's never a clean thing. They don't die straight away. You know what I mean? And so I think this painted that in a context that it needed to be seen, because I think again, it all kind of comes down to you really need to know that there's that you don't know how this is going to turn out. There needs to be that sense of angst because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, you don't know how it's going to turn out. You know, it's like going up against, you know, again, if we go back to our whole Thanos discussion, the key thing right now, because they've presented all these amazing movies with Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, but we've yet to see how scary Thanos actually is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so what's at stake? The stakes need to be high enough to really kind of sell people on that particular drama. And I think R18 films, you know, allow directors and writers to be able to explore those to its fullest extent. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to show all the gore, the sex scenes, and whatnot, but I think it's being able to establish that context, that fear, or that kind of conflict or dilemma, to be able to help those kind of internal things grow. Because like the whole time when you're watching, I mean, the thing that amazed me was at the very first line when Wolverine comes to consciousness when he's knocked out in the back of the limo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he starts off with fuck. I mean, I'll be honest, like if I wake up in a bad situation, what am I going to say? I'm not going to say like, oh shit. Not unless I'm Batista in the James Bond movie, which I thought was actually quite a beautiful touch. But you know what I mean, because, you know, it's the context that shucks, this isn't ordinary. There's a lot at stake here. The bad guys won. This is a world where the bad guys have won.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is that the bad guys have won. And so it really is a tale about how what remaining hope that they have for some kind of future or some kind of resistance against that norm, they're basically doing everything they can to preserve it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think what's interesting as well will be, because I think it's Mangold that was the director of this one, and he was the director of the last one. But I do feel like he's made up a little bit for the previous one, because
he did.
My personal opinion is that none of the Wolverine franchises have done any good to anyone in terms of really painting who Wolverine is and capturing that without these needless distractions. So, you know, the plot holes from the previous X-Men Wolverine movie, as well as from the original Origins movie, where you know, Sabretooth was not nailing it. But to know as well that going from this R18 movie into what will now be the New Mutants movie that's been announced, I'm really curious to see how they interpret or build out that story as well, because the characters are very different from the comic book characters, and I'm also curious to see whether they're going to lower that one down now that I'm expecting you'll be dealing with teen or preteen aged actresses or actors. So yeah, I'm quite interested to find out how that one goes. But yeah, I agree with you. Wolverine, epic. Like Logan is perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Logan was done beautifully.
In terms of, I guess, movies that have really surprised me of late, one of the ones which is a couple of years old now though, that I recently watched with my wife was Kung Fury. And so you and I we were just cracking up about this before, but Kung Fury is a homage to everything great about the 80s and a little bit the, say, you know, either side of the 80s era. But and the biggest, I guess, you know, evidence of that I can ever say is the fact that my wife is, as much as she has chosen to marry and live with me, she is not cut from the same cloth when it comes to movie preferences. If she had a chance, she'd gladly enjoy a lot of you know, rom-coms or dramas as much as she could, whereas I would be very much the action sci-fi. But for her to sit down, you know, halfway through or partway through this movie, and then feel like, hey, what's going on? Want to find out more, and then by the end of it, say how great the movie was, is a testament to how amazing the movie was for, you know, what it had to work with. I mean, most of that stuff's in front of a green screen, and you had guys that aren't even in America just putting all this content together and running with it, and the execution was incredible. That's what it's one of the bases of you know, your and my brand, so that's why I hold it really dear to my heart. But that's one of the ones that I just absolutely love.
That's your baby.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like, come on. When you have a person riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex, you're doing a pretty good job, right?
Dude, I think I need to revisit this. I need to revisit this Kung Fury business.
I'll give you the connection for that one, bro. That'll be fine. But yeah, look, I think that's a really good summary for us. Like, short and sharp. These are like two movies that like one movie and one series that you love. Likewise for myself as well. So anyone that's into the same kind of stuff that you and I are into can easily check it out, and I think it'll be really good.
Oh no, that's it. And I think primarily that's the thing. Is that I think the audience is people that'll connect to us. I think funny thing. I guess if I could use my Tinder as an example, is that the thing is that a lot of the times like I'll have my because I have my Tinder profile. I think it's a very accurate representation of what I'm like as a person. It's pretty goofy. It's kind of off kilter, and to be completely honest, not a whole lot of people get it. But it's not for the people that don't get it. I can't complain if people don't, if people don't necessarily understand or don't necessarily connect. But it's an indication for me because the people that do get it well. They understand it for what it is, and even if they're completely different, it's that kind of connection with people who either see themselves in the stuff that we're talking about, and just want to take part. Like the thing is that we'll talk about things that are important to us, and we won't always agree, but at the same time we can still appreciate the things that make us different, or the things that excite us. And I think that's the amazing thing that you're in Perth right now. I'm in Papakura. But, even though we're separate in time and space and the circumstances are somewhat different, there's a commonality that we have, that we share, which are these crazy movies, which are these crazy stories, these tales, that help get us through the banality of our life at times.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And so I think it's going to be from strength to strength. I'm looking forward to doing this again. I can't wait to just chill with you and talk a little bit more about it. So.
Oh, definitely. And I want all our listeners, whoever chooses to listen, to chill with us, man. That's what it is. Chill with us.
Yep.
Post a comment. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about or hear about.
Definitely. And you can check us out on Facebook, on Instagram. We look forward to your comments. We live for them, and we will speak to you all very soon.
Not a problem. You guys have a good night while I'm going to chow down on this nutritious Chinese takeaway meal.